Lake Superior is littered with shipwrecks, and some of them are within a stone's throw of the Twin Ports.
One such vessel is the Thomas Wilson that went down just outside of the harbor. It's
been resting in its watery grave for more than 120 years now, but still serves as an important bellwether for the health of Lake Superior.
Dave Anderson explains in this week's Holding On to History.
The whaleback Thomas Wilson was loaded and heading out of the piers in June of 1902. As the Wilson cleared the piers, the Laker George Hadley accidentally turned into the Wilson and nearly cut it in half. Former Marine Museum Director Denise Wolven says the vessel is still down there after 122 years.
The Wilson is about a mile kitty-corner off of the piers here.
Since the Wilson sank, few people have seen the ship except for a few divers. Some of those divers brought up relics back when it was still legal. Several years ago, those divers donated the treasures to the Marine Museum.
We're so excited to have them and actually be able to display them now. It's a story, a shipwreck story that happened right here in Duluth on a beautiful, beautiful morning.
A morning that turned tragic when 9 people were killed in the crash. Today, the wreck of the Wilson holds a scientific purpose. Above the water, Steve Daniel is a high-ranking Coast Guard auxiliary officer. Below the water, he's a diver with the Great Lakes Shipwreck Preservation Society. They use the Wilson as a gauge of how bad the zebra mussel population is.
It can get up to 5 layers thick to the point where you end up looking at a bulby, rounded shape of something and you can't see the details of the ship. When it's warm, zebra mussels tend to proliferate.
The other Great Lakes really suffer from that problem, but Lake Superior is still cool enough that the Wilson can still be recognized as a ship. And other Lake Superior wrecks in colder, deeper water are doing even better at resisting the invasive mussels. Holding on to history on Lake Superior, Dave Anderson, Northern News Now.
Dave, thank you. Now, Steve Daniel wrote a book about Twin Ports and North Shore shipwrecks. It's called Shipwrecks Along Lake Superior's North Shore, and it is published by the Minnesota Historical Society.